why caretakers break every system they try to install. So I wrote my book, This Can't Be Normal, right? What to do when success starts to feel like survival, because for many leaders that I work with, and myself included, I thought the reason that my systems were not working was because the systems needed tweaking or my policies needed tweaking, right? I kept thinking like, okay, if staff call out and they keep calling out, well, I need a better attendance policy, right? Or if directors are being inconsistent and don't have accountability, I need a better Trello board. I need a better ClickUp board. I need to invest thousands of dollars with EOS. If communication is breaking down, it's because I need clear SOPs. If accountability is weak, it's, oh, we need more training. We need more motivation. We need more perks. We need more bonuses. To be clear, those twos are valuable, okay? McKinsey, scaling up, EOS, all valuable. SOPs, all valuable. Policies, valuable. But there is a pattern underneath all of these things, okay? Leaders spend months and years, actually, building the most gorgeous systems in the world. And under pressure, they break them. Under pressure, the leader breaks their own gorgeous system that they spent years putting together. Years. Okay. They break their systems not because they're undisciplined or they're lazy or they're careless or whatever it is. They break it because they're caretakers. Okay. Leaders in education, early childhood, service-based roles. Okay. Caretakers are incredibly high capacity, capable people. They are the people who instinctively step in when something is about to fall apart. That's what I write about in my book, This Can't Be Normal, in chapter 1 of The Invisible Weight. Capable caretakers absorb tension. They protect other people from discomfort, and they do it so automatically and so instinctively and so invisibly that they don't even realize that they're doing it. They make exceptions to keep the peace. And they consistently carry the burden instead of risking letting someone else struggle even a little bit, or because they are terrified of overwhelming the system of another person. And this is one of the reasons that brought them to this level of success to begin with, but it's also why their systems keep breaking. Because every single operating system, whether that's a call-out system, an accountability system, a check-in system, a system of what to do when staff come back after break, a system of what to do with enrollment, what to do with parent engagement, what to do with financials, what to do with money leaks, what to do with growth, what to do with enrollment, what to do with staff culture. Every single operating system will eventually have a moment where you need to have a consequence, because a team member will call out for the third time. A director will miss a commitment. A parent will cross a boundary. Somebody will fail to do what they said they would do. And at that moment, you have two choices, or you think you have two choices, right? You allow the consequence to unfold, whatever you pre-decide as the consequence. And most leaders do not have pre-decided consequences. They have absorbing tension. Or you step in and absorb it. And most leaders instinctively step in to absorb it. They soften the response. They delay the conversation. They give another chance. They take on more work themselves. They protect the other person from the full impact of their behavior. And when they do that, they break the system. This is a big part of what I do when I work with clients one-on-one, or when owners book a 1-hour consultation with me. What I do in those consultations is I show them where they break their own systems, right? Owners that are running high capacity programs, like, no one here needs any more tips and tricks, okay? Especially in a world of AI, please don't hire people for tips and tricks. Like, that is the worst use of your time and money. You don't need tips and tricks. That is not what you're lacking in your life. Okay. You need to understand the patterns of your behavior and where you step in to break the system that you've already built. When I do consultations with owners, we look at the infrastructure in their school, and it's like, this is where you step into the system. This is where you unintentionally absorb impact and don't allow the full consequence to land. That is what you want to do with an actual human who can see patterns, who understands behavior, who's worked inside of the industry for 2 decades and looks at that level of intelligence. That's not something that AI can do with you. But going back to what I was saying earlier is, excuse me, leaders step in and break their own systems. So many leaders who implement EOS, SOPs, McKinsey, scaling up, all of these programs, okay, and install accountability tools and everything, okay, yet still feel like everything silently and invisibly depends on you, okay? That is an issue of a leader who's still functioning as the emotional and operational shock absorber of the building. There is no system that can hold if one person consistently intercepts consequence. So, if enforcing a standard breaks your operations, then you don't have a fully installed standard, right? If you continue to rescue people from consequences, you become the system and eventually you break. And people call me at their breaking point. I can't tell you how many leaders I speak to that are having emotional tantrums and like really, really like valid ones. They are completely falling apart at the seams and they don't understand why. I understand why. When you spend 2-3 decades being an emotional shock absorber of an entire organization, you're eventually going to fall apart. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And another template is not going to help you. And owners feel trapped inside of this because their intelligence tells them, I've invested in sophisticated tools and frameworks. Why isn't this working? Because your breakthrough is not the next template. Your breakthrough, and this is what I do when I work with clients, is understanding where do you enter the system and intercept accountability and consequence, because that's where infrastructure is built. That's where infrastructure is built, okay? We need other tools besides for write-ups, HR, and firing. Guys, that is the equivalent of threats and bribes. We need to move away from that. There is a real way to build infrastructure: standard, ownership, rhythm, response. What is the standard for callouts? Who owns it? How does it happen on rhythm? And what happens when it breaks? If every single time it depends on the situation, it was a snow day, someone was sick, there's a bug, there's a flu, there's a this, then you don't have standards. You don't have standards. You are the system. You are the system, right? What if your answer to what you're navigating is actually not on the other side of another system? It's actually in the moment where you stop entering the system. You stop breaking the infrastructure that you're trying to build. You stop rescuing people. Now, the crazy part is that when I talk to leaders, right, when I do, whether that's a live workshop or whether I work with someone one-on-one, their response is so automatic, you literally do not realize that you're rescuing your people. You think you're not because you're not in the building, or you have a team, or you don't deal with this kind of stuff. And you're like, no. You don't realize. It is so automatic. It is so invisible. It is so part of your psyche. You literally do not realize that you're breaking the system. You use your body, you use hints, you use eye language, eye contact, you use proximity. You don't realize how many different ways you use your body and your intelligence to prop up the building. And when you do that, you remain the system of your building. It is not a surprise that success starts to feel like survival. That's why I wrote my book, This Can't Be Normal. That's why I wrote it. Because when a leader does not understand where they enter the system and break the system that they built, they will consistently loop forever. I have people that we work with that have worked in all of these $1 million programs, okay? We worked with a client who hired McKinsey for $2 million to work on their 150 school portfolio and came in and gave consultations and gave this and gave it. Their system still broke under pressure. So I'm like, what did they miss? Two things. One, owners are caretakers. They are caretakers. This is a service-based industry. They are caretakers. They're going to step into the system when they see people struggling. That's the first thing. The second thing is where do you step into the system? You can make the most gorgeous system in the world. That cost $2 million. It was 2.1 to be exact. $2 million. And this guy is still in the infrastructure of his building. Okay, you don't need to spend $2 million. You don't need to do that. Awareness. Where do you step in and break the system? Where do you do it? You can't figure that out on your own. You need a witness. You need a witness. who is listening for patterns and can identify this is where you enter the system, this is how it breaks, this is the impact of it, and here are suggestions of how to slowly step out of it.